meeting on 5:46 PM. A call to order, approval of agenda as presented or amended. Janet, thank you, Brian. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, perfect. Business arising from the minutes of unfinished business. This is for information. Is there any comments or questions to our staff about any of this information? Janet, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any further updates on the fire department items. The corrosion on the ladder truck, but also not on here is the other item that Brent brought up, which was the
Brought up about the-
fire underwriter
about the
survey
tower or
5-year
something?
extension.
Fire extension?
Yeah.
Oh,
Fire underwriter survey 5-year
for
extension.
the truck.
So I can answer that through you.
Yeah.
Forward. So scams, staff. They're acting with the fire folks. And they have coordinated, acquired the photographs that they need. Ken's indicated in several emails at this point, the fact that there may be a request for further photographs. He feels that he has sufficient. With regard to the other matter, perhaps Ken can update you with regard to the
Fire underwriter.
details associated.
Yeah, we got confirmation back last Friday that the two vehicles that we were requesting the extension for were approved. So
What vehicles are those?
10 and 14.
Thank you. Okay, and so for the rest, you don't have to bring the vehicle out to the body shop?
We have a quote from the body shop person, and
Okay.
we're in the process of making an appointment with them. The appointment could be like 8 months away. It's just that busy.
Oh, wow.
So sorry, I missed, is that going to be covered under a warranty?
We can do both. We're in the process of making an appointment with the body shop person. And that can be done simultaneously as getting permission with the insurance. With the insurance, they came back with more questions about more pictures, which I've had submitted.
Insurance or warranty?
Warranty.
Okay.
Yes.
Just for more clarification, it's an important distinction. It's not rust, it's corrosion. So
Oh.
it's a little bit of corrosion.
Okay, thank you.
So rust would be, you
Would
know,
be iron oxidation.
well, the rust could, it's problematic because it can.
It has to be cut out or replaced.
Yeah.
This is more or
just
less buffing and paint, basically.
Cosmetic.
Yeah,
This should
but
come
it has to
out.
get done before it gets worse, obviously. Or it turns into rust.
Oh, sorry, Pat, didn't see it. Go ahead.
You're on mute, Pat.
Still on mute.
Pat, you're on mute. Can you hear us? Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Good question.
I can hear Cam, no problem, but I have problems hearing Ross. So if Ross could speak a little louder, that would be great. I think I caught the gist of and from Cam, I heard about the two trucks that have got the official extension. With the ladder truck that has a corrosion, has the company that has a warranty approved having the body shop do the work?
We're still,
Go ahead, Cam.
we're still in the process of negotiating with the body shop person but the warranty people did suggest to get the quote from the body shop people. So we're still in discussion who's gonna do the work.
Did you
Okay,
hear that,
thanks.
Pat?
Yeah,
You hear
I heard
that?
that. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Jan.
And then my last question, has the fire underwriter's extension been communicated to the fire department?
I think only because we just received
Yeah,
it Friday, we haven't done it yet.
Okay,
Correct. We just received it. We wanted to digest it first before we spread out the news.
thank
Was
you.
there any requirements from
Answer
the
the question.
underwriters with regard to
Take them all.
testing of the pumps or whatever?
What's
It
that?
was a requirement that we submit the testing for the pumps.
Okay, okay. Sounds good. Perfect, thank you. Any other questions, council? That's good? Everybody's good? Okay, well, let's move on to The new business, committee of the whole structure of operation parks and arts and culture for discussion. What did we have? We have anything to be brought up?
We did
Would you like me
So-
to this?
Yes,
Perhaps
please.
Mayor
Yes,
cover the
please.
back. So basically, this is put on the agenda. We have now been providing so if everybody remembers, we amalgamated PrAC and Ops and put them together into the committee of the whole. And then we stated that we would test it out for 6 months and come back to committee of the whole and decide whether or not it's working, how it is working, whether or not there's things we can do to improve it, or whether we go back to the old structure. So it's on the table for the committee's discussion.
I like the old way,
Okay, thank you.
well, humble.
Okay, go ahead, John.
I like the old way too. And I was thinking that, you know, if there just wasn't enough staff time to go back to the old way entirely, then maybe what we could do is instead of every month having both meetings, that we could alternate 1 month. That would be PrAC and 1 month will be off.
Okay, sounds good. Trina?
I don't have, how it was to compare it to, so the question would be if it's how it is for staff.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, I should have said, I like the old way. I do like the old way, although I can live with whatever we do because, and the reason, and it's not just because I'm an old curmudgeon, which I am, and I revel in that, that I like the old way, but with my experience with the recreation group, it gave rise to, I think, more discussion. For recreation and, which I thought was a good thing. Not being staff and having to act on it and record it and all that sort of stuff, may not be the case. But yeah, I mean, again, that's what I liked, for those reasons, but I understand that, time is challenging, and if this makes that a little bit easier, then I guess we will have to try and find ways to have those more fulsome discussions through this format.
Pat had her hand up. Did you have your hand up, Pat? Oh, yeah, you do have your hand up.
I did have my hand up. Thank you. So I agree. We had more fulsome discussion at the Parks and Rec. I was never on op except for one time on council. I don't know what term it was, but I think when we were talking about what committees we wanted to be on, so many people wanted to be on ops and so many people wanted to be on Parks and Rec. And then some of the discussion that happened, for example, Trina was not part of any of the discussions that got to take place, but it's very interested in it, as is Brian, as is John. So I get maybe going and doing one Parks and Rec 1 month, ops next month. With the ops, were there more fulsome discussion? I guess is another question.
Go ahead, Janet.
I would just say, yeah, same as practice, more fulsome discussion and with, you know, we still kept a pretty good schedule, but there's no end time either, like not having the next meeting immediately after. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes they were 15 minutes and sometimes they were an hour and a half. And it worked pretty good. But yeah, very similar to the PrAC, just more interactive discussion, less formal.
Go ahead, Counselor Robertson.
But I do think it would be helpful for, staff, i.e. Heather, to weigh in as well. Because, it will affect their time and that should be part of our decision making.
So is it okay if I speak?
Of course.
Okay, so it has been a little bit easier for us not to have those extra meetings. I do like the idea that if we were to go back to the 3 o'clock it was Wednesdays, I believe, if I remember correctly. We go back to the 3 o'clock alternating months, which would also help, because I know one of the biggest challenges that Louisa has is then pumping out those minutes in order to get them on to the next agenda. And sometimes we have crack and ops in the same week, and then we have an agenda week, and trying to get it all coordinated can be quite difficult. Not to mention that it is quite difficult as well to throw together 2 agendas that are now also back to back on possibly a council agenda as well. So we could end up with a Friday, and we have had in the past where we also have emergency committee that happens every second month, where we're bumping out a crack, an ops, an emergency, a committee of the whole, and a council all within 1 week. So just making sure that we can get involved in terms of getting ahead of the curve by having it every second month. There's nothing saying that we can't go back and try it and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. And I know council and staff are committed, whoever happens to be appointed to those committees are committed to attending when council is available. I know that when we did have the first initial discussion, just keeping in mind that, you know, it's about 2 hours of prep time for us to put those agendas together. It's about 2 hours of minute time, and then we have the time for the meeting. So for everybody who's attending, roughly about 5 hours worth of staff time, times however many staff happen to be in attendance. So those are just some of the things to consider whenever we're looking at different types of committees.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, thank you. And just sort of following up, when the suggestion was made alternating between ops and Parks and Rec, I assumed it would be at this time, a committee at this time before the council meeting. It actually doesn't matter to me, the timing so much. Although the Wednesdays at 3 was fine, thank you.
I'm more full of ideas at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And part of our reason.
I won't say among other things, but
Part of our reason for having it at this particular time slot is because we're already committed
Yeah.
to being here every second Tuesday anyway, and so it didn't take away from staff time. Staff are paid additional in order to come to these meetings, and so just making better use of everybody's time at the table, that was just kind of the premise. Either way, like I said, council staff will adapt to council's desire, and we'll try and get done whatever we can get done, and make sure we're available at 3. We're all here till 4:30 most of the time anyway, so.
So,
Dear, what's your thoughts?
well, my thoughts are, I like the old way, but then again, I also recognize the fact that it took up a lot of staff time, so I thought it was a good idea that we went to this format. I actually like the suggestion about alternating at 1 month on, 1 month off for each department. Maybe with the idea of maybe starting at 5:30 instead of 5:45, so that it gets a good hour and a bit. And then, we go from there. I like, unless Heather, you can think of something that would be negative towards continuing doing it on the Tuesday of a council meeting once a month.
We have had challenges adapting because we
Okay.
do get a lot of people who like to make presentations, but we have gotten better at scheduling to let people know when it is available, basically carving off this last meeting of every month and saying this meeting is unavailable for presentation time. The first meeting in Tuesday is the one where we are scheduling those presentations, and then also realigning to ensure that council's time is being better utilized too, and really paring down on, you know, how long is the presentation actually going to be, because I know
Yeah.
that we've given a lot of bench time to a lot of delegations that have come and scheduled a half an hour, and they take like 5-10 minutes. And so we're asking more questions as they're coming in to help us, and it's taken us a few months to get used to it, but we're starting to fall into the groove, and people are starting to understand. But we also don't get as many, we still get requests, but it's not as many as we got 4 years ago. Like
Mhm.
when this council switched over 4 years ago, it was almost like we had a half hour of delegation 2 times every second Tuesday, where we were trying to schedule, we were scheduling months in advance. So they seem to have kind of paired off a little bit. It could be COVID, but it could also be too, because we're really asking those harder questions at the very beginning. Is this really within a 15-minute time frame? Is it something where you're expecting more dialogue back and forth with council? Like for instance, when Western Forest Products comes, we know that that's going to be a more back and forth discussion with council, but when somebody's coming to talk about a bylaw, that's a delegation and not a committee of the whole. So from our perspective, like I said, we're already here every Tuesday. We're already getting paid. It makes the most sense in order to do that, unless it doesn't work for people's schedules.
Mhm. Go ahead, Brian.
Just, I mean, being selfish for me, it definitely works a lot better. It's hard for me to make 3 o'clock meetings
Mhm.
and that I'm already coming here anyway. It does
Mhm.
work out nicely to have. Just, I would be happy to come earlier, 5 o'clock, 5:30, whatever.
Mhm.
Definitely nice that way. That's my input.
Yeah, thanks. We need that.
I'd rather have it early too, just like so that we're not rushed.
Mhm.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about allowing that discussion, and sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer. I think it's important to have those wholesome conversations.
They're the heart and soul of all that stuff in our town,
Yeah.
I
the work that those two people at the back of the room do.
Yeah. I like the, yeah. I like the idea of the alternating 1 month, and that sort of helps staff out a little bit too. So they don't have to have something crunched together every month, but still expect to have some information that we can discuss, but I don't have a problem with 5 o'clock or 5:30, but I just thought to start off maybe 5:30, that gives us an hour and a half. We don't have a delegation, and if we had a delegation, if they came in at 6:30, well, then they get a half an hour, right? I mean, if they're coming in a committee of the whole, that should give them enough, but just to try something, do something a little bit different, but I think try to put it all together, all in one meeting. Yeah, you don't get any, it reminds me of and I shouldn't say this in public, it reminds me of our RD meetings where woof, 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 you just have too much and no time to discuss. Right, you just pile a whole bunch of information to you, but really there's no discussion at all.
Mhm.
It's just information. Well, this committee of the whole is supposed to be about talking about information, about people coming and talking to us about their concerns and what they want to bring to the municipality. And at this particular time, we haven't really had anybody come and really talk to us. And we basically that time worked out, I thought would work out better, but people could come after their work to be involved, but it doesn't seem to be. People aren't jumping on board right now, so it's basically our discussion, so it gives us a better opportunity to talk with our staff too. And we need some feedback from them too. How can we help them? They're giving us information, but what can we do to help them? That's what it's all about. It's supposed to be collaborative here, not just a bunch of information that we take in. Okay, that's lovely, but okay, so what can we do better for you? Kind of an idea. Open it up a little bit more that way. But anyways. Okay, Patricia, your turn.
Thank you. So I just wanted to mention, and being cognizant of staff time, but also cognizant of the people that are continuing to work and don't get off work at 3 o'clock. So if we went to a 3 o'clock start like we were doing before, we would basically be going back to the old style of our committees, where we would be appointing 3 counselors for each committee. Because I can only suspect that Brian would not be able to go to those meetings and Trina wouldn't be able to go to those meetings. So myself personally, I would prefer to keep to the Tuesday, either starting at 5 or 5:30 and alternating, and then everybody can continue to come to both sets of meetings and have fulsome input from everybody on council.
Yeah,
So there's still gonna be committees of the whole,
this would be a committee of the whole still.
okay?
But delegations would start later,
Well,
depending on it.
committee of the whole, people could come and speak at a committee of the whole.
Yeah.
They don't have to come as a delegate.
But if there is no delegations, then we can
Carry on.
carry on, yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, do you think that is hindering, did you have a lot more attendance from the public when it was Parks and Rec or Ops? Like, is that sort of why you're wondering committee of the whole, or?
We never had a lot of participation from the public on those 3 o'clock meetings.
No? Okay,
No.
No,
I'm just checking.
Your feisty ones.
I think
No, okay, but
the
not
difference
really.
between committee of the whole and the committee is that the committees only have the select few people appointed to them, whereas the committee of the whole is open to all of council.
Got
It doesn't necessarily mean that all of council have to come to a committee of the whole, but it does have to have a quorum. The quorum would be 4, right?
Mhm.
So if we want to go back to the true way that the committee was set up, which was 3 members of council and then 3 members of staff, then that's the committee structure. If we want to go to committee of the whole, it doesn't hinder our ability to talk, but I do get Councillor Dorman's point about the fact that we are backing it on to a regular council meeting. So sometimes that perception that we have to rush because we have this other meeting that comes on is definitely a hindrance to, opening up that dialogue. So if we allowed more time, we still have a committee of the whole, but ultimately it's up to council's direction of whether we go back to the old or stick with what we are and try something new.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with Councillor Robertson and then Councillor Bryan, please.
Yeah, sorry, when, we were talking about, the 5:30, I thought we were sort of, I assumed it was as the whole. council,
Yeah.
committee of the whole, and not sort of, just an appointed committee at that point. So I'm good with committee of the whole, and if we want to start early, I think that's a good idea, give ourselves some time, and one topic per month, well, one's as in recreation 1 month and ops the next, see how it goes.
Mhm.
And if there's an old guy on council that still says we should go back, okay, then, and there's an old guy on council that says we should.
To me, the timing's fine. I mean, I work till 5 o'clock as well.
Mhm,
I take time away from my work that I don't get paid for,
mhm.
when I attend, so. But to me, one of the things I liked about the old committee was that the staff sat at the table and it was more of an informal interchange. It wasn't like through the chair, can I talk, da. It was just more back and forth,
Mhm.
and I think with the committee of the whole, that's not possible. And so it's not that I'm looking to exclude anybody from their input on either committee, but it was that informal exchange of ideas and what's going on, and that I found more beneficial as well as like this huge agenda for both things.
We can make it as informal as you like.
Nice.
So committee of the whole, it allows us the ability to be more informal. And the only reason we do this stature is because it happens to be on a Tuesday night and we're, on your beck and call. If it was council's desire for us to sit at the table and have more of a free flowing exchange, I would have to just make sure I have that formal discussion to make sure we don't, because we are recording. Whereas regular Parks and Rec or, ops, we don't record, but it does allow for the free flow of
Mhm.
ideas. And yeah, we don't have a problem sitting at the table, coming a little bit closer. We can make the table bigger.
Yeah, because when you have a committee, you do have an agenda and you do have a chair, and so
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it-
you
but
still
it's
follow
open.
it, but it's
open.
yeah.
we can do that. Why not?
We never followed the recreation agenda, it was just, oh.
We followed it.
Sort of. Okay, so what would council like to give direction to our?
You're not clear on what we talked about and what we decided?
Well, hey, we gotta make a motion and we gotta
I like
vote.
what Mayor
So,
Corbett Labatt wants. Go with what she wants.
Yeah,
What would you like, Mayor?
Sorry, I was having trouble getting my mouse to work on my mute mic. So I'm fine, because we did say we would do this for 6 months, see how it worked. And I like the idea, and sorry, Janet, about not mentioning your name about working till 5 o'clock, because I do know that you're working too. And you have to take time off work to come to the meetings. So having it at 5 o'clock, and if we alternate Parks and Rec 1 month and then ops the next month, then it would allow more fulsome talking about what's going on. I'm totally fine with that. And then it will allow everybody to be partaking in the conversation. So I like that idea. And I think too, if something comes up with the month that, say, something comes up with ops that needs to be dealt with and Parks and Rec is happening, then we will call for a special committee of the whole or deal with whatever is going on at that particular time.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. So
What was the summary of that?
summary of
So
that.
summary.
If we're making a
Summary that I
motion.
have Is that we'll still continue with the committee of the whole structure. We're gonna alternate Parks and Rec and ops month to month. We are going to start earlier, so a 5:30 start would probably be ideal. However, if there's lots of things on the agenda, then we'll gauge based on what's going on to ensure. And then if we do have things that need to happen, either one committee or the other committee that, are time sensitive, then we can add those items to the agenda.
Sounds awesome. Okay, so that is the motion. So would somebody like to say that motion? Trina?
I'll make that one.
Okay, somebody like to second that?
Don't look at me.
Yeah, Brian? Okay, so all in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Okay, passed. Thank you.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a stealth move, stealth vote,
Yeah. Well, okay, thank you.
it's all good.
That was awesome. Okay, dokie, well, let's move on to our staff reports then. For information, we have the, report from the Port Hardy Harbor Authority. Is there any comments or questions? I think that would be, when we talk about that, having that every month, it would be nice to have, and to maybe here to talk about this periodically. But anyways, that's my 2 bits.
Once a year, even.
Yeah. Every 6 months would be great. Okay, so there was no questions?
Just before, or just after summer, or both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cause summer's pretty crazy, right? Yeah. So no questions? Okay, so let's, move on to our water treatment plant report. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I
Let's go
just,
ahead.
the leaking pipe, how long had it been leaking? And was that exposed or was it dug up?
Dug up.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, or as a deputy mayor, it was not exposed.
Okay.
What we do is that we look for, trends in our water distribution and droppages in, the reservoir, and then you can pinpoint, where leakages are. So the crew pinpointed this leakage, found it, and then dug it up, fixed it.
Could have been leaking for a while.
It's hard to say.
So how much would a leak like that, I'm sorry, I'm taking up people's time and just sort of nosy. How much water would have been lost through a leak like that?
If it's gushing, like a 4-inch main, if it's open, this one looks like a small one, but if it's open, you can see the reservoir start shrinking. And then the crew gets an alarm and they run out 3 a.m. and try to find it.
But that size of leak wouldn't drain the
Both
reservoir.
sides of a garden hose almost.
Yeah,
It-
like 3/4 half inch or something.
Yeah, let's just look at someone's water main to their house.
You can see it rolling down the street, like it's not that much.
Yeah, no, I just found it interesting.
It's very interesting. There's actually an app or a website online where you can actually go and measure how much water leakage you currently have in your home. So if you have like a drip, for instance, you measure how many seconds it takes for that drip to register at the bottom of the sink, let's say.
Mhm.
And then you put that information in there and it'll tell you how many liters of water you're losing per minute, per hour, per day, et cetera. So the more frequent the drips. So if you have something where you could fill up a cup of water, let's say in however many seconds, you can actually calculate the amount of water that you're losing as well.
For all those homes unmetered.
Right.
water.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
you know, I've actually run into this a lot with toilets in the past, because I've worked in many communities where water conservation is. Not many communities. I've worked in 2 other communities where water conservation isn't exactly at the forefront. And of course, one community I worked in where nothing is pumped, right? So it's all gravity feed. And so it doesn't take very long for water to basically be gone from the reservoir as fast as possible, because you don't have a pump that you can actually stop that water from flowing to the homes. So when you have, like, let's say a geyser leak at the end of a wharf, you could end up draining that tank in less than an hour. It just depends on how fast the propulsion can be. So it's interesting for people to be able to measure their own leaks. So when you have a toilet that's running, you can actually gauge based on how fast that water is running down the side of the toilet to find out exactly how much you're losing. And when we did the calculations in the smaller communities that I was in, we were, some people were losing in excess of like 70 liters a day just from a leaky toilet.
Yeah, it's amazing how much water you, on a constant drip or a constant little leak, how much it adds up to. And the biggest culprits in a home is a flopper valve in your toilet.
Mhm.
That accumulates to a lot of water in a day, big time. And I just noticed on your graph, not to be picky, but I love graphs, but the January, February, March, the April one wasn't on there, but I did notice it was 117, so that little blue line wasn't there. And I did notice in your operation summary and highlights there, it said in March, but it really meant to say April. But I hate being picky, but when I look at stuff, I'm trying to tabulate in my brain, okay, what's missing here? But yeah, it's all there. When you talk about leaks, I've seen a lot of those kind of leaks down there, and you see that rock on the right-hand side on that picture. Well, that's probably a culprit of why that crack that hit in there. The weight, the pressure of the ground up above pushing on it, and it basically pushed on that copper and it created a problem there. And that'll leak a lot of water. Depending on how much pressure that's in that particular area. If you get 100 PSI to the property line, you can imagine how much water's coming in there.
You wonder if like the
lot.
homeowner would notice a drop in pressure in your house with something substantial like that. Like that's a pretty big loss for a house to see, right?
You'd be very surprised
Of what it can keep up.
that you can keep up within a
Wow.
house. Yeah. Yeah, but normally sometimes because it's copper and it resonates back to the house, the homeowner, in some cases, could hear the water running.
Oh, yeah.
They could hear it running because they could hear water, like it resonates, the sound resonates through the pipe, and then like what Cam was just mentioning, it might come up on the surface, but it may not be exactly where the leak is, because it'll work its way in the ground and find the easiest way to get out. It could be quite a ways away. I've seen them like 100 feet away, popping up, and oh, there's a leak right there. Down that way.
You dig a hole and it's like on the side. Dig that hole.
Oh, yeah, you can spend a lot of money looking for a leak, let me tell you. That's why that leak detection equipment's so important, right? Because you can pinpoint it then better.
This particular example, the leak was 20 meters away from the point of origin.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's crazy.
An upgrade from the wetching stick, eh?
Yeah.
Another stick?
Yes, I've seen them use those on many occasions. Okay, any other comments with regards to the water treatment report?
I do.
Yes, go ahead, Pat.
So I know at one function, Joel was, had available to people, something to test their, toilets to see if they were leaking. Cam, do you know if there's any of that little kit around still that we could start, promoting people to test their, toilets to see if they're leaking?
I don't think there's a kit, but don't you put like watercolor?
That's what they did, was just little pills of tap watercolor you drop in your toilet and then you could tell if it leaks through, yeah. We used to have a whole pile of those at one time. I don't know where they all are now.
But just
When we
by the
did a
fact that
water-
the water
Drains
disappears.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it should stay in color.
When we did a water conservation program, we used up all the ones that were left over from EPCOR.
Okay,
So I believe if we do have any, they're probably stuck in a box somewhere, probably slated for garbage. But we could definitely get more of them, but basically what it is it's almost like,
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
those little seed pads
But weekends
that
and
you can
calories.
get attached to a business card. It's exactly the same thing. You
Yep.
just drop it in, it dissolves, and then you'll know if your
Yeah.
toilet's running.
As long as people don't take it as candy or something.
oh yeah, that was another thing that they worried about, handing them out to kids. Thought it was candy. Okay, and when you talk about the biological sampling and we look at that particular case, just so everybody knows that when you look at the raw water one at the bottom, it talks about the pH being around 6.8, but that depending on the month, but when we get a lot of rain, that pH is very quite low, so it's very aggressive water. That's why we have to add the CO2s and the lime into the water to bring it up, so it's not so aggressive to the system. Because, and what it does, and as you can probably see there, that you can see the pH is how they vary. And in some particular areas, it's considerably higher. Well, what that is that the water is still aggressive to a certain extent, and what it's doing is it's actually out of our asbestos cement pipe that's in the ground, because it's lined with mortar lining. It's actually absorbing the calcium in the pipe, and that's why the pH is increasing. So it's still aggressive, but nothing like it used to be. Like what it used to be was like just eat up the inside of an AC pipe like you wouldn't believe, but not so much anymore. But it's still picking up that calcium in the pipe, and that's why the pH is going up in the distribution system, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it does mean that it's having an effect on the AC pipe. And we have a considerable amount of AC pipe in the district of Port Hardy still. All the downtown area, all of that area up where Carnarvon Street, that's all AC water main, right?
AC stands for asbestos.
Asbestos concrete, yeah, pipe, yeah. Now, the asbestos itself isn't really, it doesn't really, unless all that mortar lining's gone. And in some cases it might be because of depending on how aggressive it is, but because of that mortar lining there, the AC is not really in contact with the pipe. But in the old days, when it was ripping that off of the pipe down at the bottom, we had AC, unfortunately, in all the water, just all the systems in the town. You know, it was terrible, but we definitely made a big change with all that. So thank goodness for that. Just because it's, I guess that's my past history jumping out at me, but it's okay. Go ahead, Jen.
Since we're talking more deeply about water, how often do we test for heavy metals?
I don't think it's a regular test. I have to check specifically what the report's saying. I didn't read that specifically for that question. Okay.
Like every other year
I have to check.
Well, I thought they had to do them
Next
once a year or something like that, depending on the area.
or, oh, we just did one.
I just looked at the meets the operational standard and then it's always
Yeah,
done. I'd have to go back and look.
Right. You just see that it's good and that's good.
Yeah.
Next.
that as long as it meets the
Not out of range.
standards. And it's interesting with water quality and everything else, unless if it's a health issue, it's a guideline. It's not a requirement, it's just a guideline. But you know, you like to stay within the guideline, you don't want to be outside of it, obviously, but and if you are outside of it, then you look at ways and means to mitigate that. And that's what we've done so far at the water treatment plant. Okay, any other questions about the water treatment plant report? Anybody? No? Okay, great, thank you, Cam. Let's move on to, Tanya.
Hello. Did you already do the wastewater?
There's those Sequati
There's the
airport
3
wastewater.
and
Was
4.
there a wastewater?
Yeah, Sequati.
How come I missed that one?
Airport.
Sorry,
Three and number
I
four.
was following down on my computer instead of looking at my sheet here.
Linked out.
Okay, we've got the waste, yeah. Okay, well, we got the wastewater treatment plant, the Sequati one, that's the one in town. For your information, is there any questions, council, with regards to any of that information? We're all holding to our permit, which is awesome. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on. Airport wastewater treatment plant. We're holding true on our permits there too. Looks good. Any questions? No. Okay, let's go to Tanya now with Recreation Committee, her report.
It's been an exciting day today. This is in addition to what you see here in the report. I picked up all the race committee, the Comox race committee equipment for the High Castle today. So, it was really interesting. It was a very small, narrow, very tall storage room. And by the end of it, we cleaned out half the stuff.
Good.
They were so gracious. They gave us everything in it, anything we wanted, more than I could imagine. And it's just, yeah, and then picking up the arch from Cowichan Valley, it just speaks volumes of the power of connection, like the power of networking. You know, I mean, how many thousands of dollars you probably saved in equipment and, you know, and purchasing and all that stuff. So we're just so fortunate to have those connections and have that support. They're so happy that they are one of our biggest, they're sponsoring this event for us.
Mhm.
And they're just super excited that we're coming on for the North Island region. We have 2 more racers from the Comox coming up to race it and to help us with the race timing at the end of the race. So it's just been, yeah, I'm super excited. So it's been a fantastic event. Can't believe it's less than 2 weeks away. So still lots of work to do, but it's gonna be great. And thank you so much for everyone around the table for volunteering to either run it or to help flagging. So, they were having those meetings for flagging on May 29th to discuss the ins and outs and give you your best and all that stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, and in addition to the report, we received a notification that the disc golf baskets have arrived through the proponents, through Alan, our main proponent. And so, Canada will be meeting with the two, Chris and Alan, on June 17th to discuss the course design and the work that's required by operations to get the course up and running.
I'm pretty sure that the Rotary Club who's donating money, I'm pretty sure they're interested in helping with the install.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great, so that's, we can discuss
That's
that.
normally something, just like the playground, they're very interested in the hands-on part.
Okay, so they'd be interested in helping out with the actual designing it, of it too, the actual work involved,
I don't know about the designing, but like the shovels and,
the shelves and all
yeah,
that.
the work, sort of the work part.
Great,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I'll reach out. I'll connect with you then, Janet, to let you know about that.
Sean,
Sean. Yeah,
awesome.
and, yeah, as you can see from the report, just lots going on. It's the summer programming. I'm not gonna say anything, but it's gonna be an amazing summer guide, just when I think my staff can't up the creativity and outdo ourselves. I think it's gonna be an amazing guide. It's gonna be released on June 18th for launch day. And just, what's really cool is that we have a lot of our contract instructors who teach one or two like off programs. They're not coming through, they're coming forward with their ideas and wanting to put on a week-long camp or, or like a guitar, like a 2-day guitar seminar. So it's really neat how there's less of us going out to them. They're actually coming to us because they like the relationship, they like the two-way communication, and that all speaks to the dedication and to that commitment that my staff have to, that constant communication, that constant relationship building. So we have a really good reputation in the community and really excited about, summer camps. And as you can see from our spunky, vibrant Marita Flores, our Mexican fiesta event planner, art instructor, just extraordinary talent. She put on this amazing Mexican fiesta. They had 32 in attendance, and the feedback I received was just amazing. That in fact, there were so many people that wanted another one. So she's putting a Christmas. She's doing a Christmas in July fiesta. People can't wait till the next. So next Cinco de Mayo. Thank you. Next May. So that's going to be coming up in July.
I want to just add one thing about Cinco de Mayo. It's not a holiday that is observed in Mexico.
No,
It is an American holiday.
interesting.
And it's quite well known here in the North American culture.
Yes.
There's a lot
But
of Cinco de
Mexico,
Mayo, but not Mexico.
They don't care.
Yeah.
And you know this because you may have been somewhere on Cinco de
We're in
Mayo?
Mexico and we watched no kind of festivities there was gonna be on Cinco de Mayo, and they looked at me like I was, no, gringos celebrate that.
They have the Day of the Dead or something like that. don't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, in fact, that's exactly what they said, is that's the day that they celebrate,
yeah.
not their independence.
If you haven't checked out the arena, please stop by. I'm just so, it's hard to imagine what the arena looked like when I first walked in, but you can see from that picture on the left-hand side there that I'm just gonna call it very, very ugly yellow and very, very ugly. I don't even know what you call it, alpha blue. But all of it's gone now. It's all gray. The stairs are getting painted as of today. So it just looks so fresh and clean and the comments that we get from people who are coming in for the first time, they're like, wow, you're expecting an old arena. That actually is. Right? It's a centennial building, but it's amazing what, with when you put the resources into it and the staff time into it and what a difference it does to just our reputation and just the sense of accomplishment from the community perspective and the staff perspective. So it's been a great team effort over there with our new staff and really great to see the changes. The Clear Nanny is coming in on June 15th. The High-Pro company that installed the net and the minor hockey for the company or minor hockey purchased it through will be coming here to install the net on June 15th. So that will be a change as well. And quite excited about that.
What you doing at the old netting?
A huge balloon drop for New Year's. Even more bigger than that.
Actually, there may be a need to use it during the renovation of the pool. in order to protect the liner from any of the above works.
Oh, yeah.
So we won't be throwing it.
No, we'll find
No.
it for it, for sure, for sure.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah,
Great idea.
yeah. Minor hockey paid for the clearing, so there's no loss for us. Yeah, win-win for both of us.
Perfect.
Staff updates, really sad to hear, for those of you who don't know Rachel Melville, she has been with us since, August of 2021. She was the temporary aquatics leader in the interim when Melinda was on medical leave. She did an amazing job getting our first fall recreation running, and then she was kept on because of her fit and her qualities and her skill sets, and she became the head skating coach. And she has hundreds of kids through an amazing program, so.
And adults.
And adults, yeah. That's right on Janet, yeah, she did that, and just her contributions. Unfortunately, we weren't able to secure a permanent position for her, and that's one of the things I'm very sad. So we're very sorry that we weren't able to do that. But she was able to help us in so many ways, and she will be dearly missed. She's really just wanted to work with her partner, and she's going to be pursuing the master's in health. Just goes to show, I mean, when there's talented staff, we have, it's not a given that they're gonna stay with us for, for a long period of time. Talent does get poached, and talent does find other interests, and especially in the labor market. If we don't hold them in or rein them in, right, they will find into other opportunities. So, but we wish her well, and we thank her for all of her outstanding contributions. And then I just wanted to highlight Tanya Cox, who's been with us for many, many years. She has been recently promoted to the recreation clerk 3 position. And, that little bit of promotion has given her such confidence and such empowerment. And she's taken on this initiative to really inspire us all by sending these weekly emails. And we're just really touched by them. It just really, she's sort of the hub now for us to go to and a high five and to seek advice and to get some inspiration. So just wanted to highlight that for you and appreciate her.
Great, thank you, Tanya. Patricia, did you have anything?
I did. So thank you very much. And I appreciate your report and everyone's report. I just wonder, based on how you highlighted Tanya, and maybe as a district, we need to highlight all our employees at different times, like even on, maybe on the, if they're willing, of course, on our district website, and just say, shout out to XYZ. He or she's been with the district for so many years. This is the person who's a face doing whatever, just to show our appreciation to our employees. Just an idea. So I thought I'd throw that out. And I know Trina has something she wants to bring up, and I don't know if you remembered about that, Trina.
Yeah, good idea, Mayor. I was just had a question regarding, I was on a walk the other night just with my dog, and there was these 2 young men playing floor hockey in the tennis courts. And I was like, wow, I've never seen that in all my times, but he goes there often and they play, and they bring down a little net from someone that has on Pine Drive. And I'm like, is there anything we can do for you? Maybe painted lines, or thinking in the future for them, just because I thought it was so great, and he had so much passion. He's so happy that he can go out and play and teach his younger brother. And the mayor had mentioned that we were looking at maybe purchasing some hockey nets or sticks, and I just wanted to know if we could have that sort of as future, or maybe something we could do. There might be an issue of storage or signing out, but I just loved how it's like, wow, of course, it's not just a winter sport in our arena. They might want to get out there and, cheaper as well. You don't need the skates and all the gear. You can just go with a stick and further with that, sort of thinking about the disc golf and our kind of recreation hub that we're starting to create. Like, it would be neat if we could have that sort of concept plan or vision of how we want to have everything all together, skateboard park, you know, the disc golf, the pickleball, tennis, basketball, grabbing they were there. I was on my walk last night, all these kids playing, but they only had the one net, and I'm like, oh, like, it just seems exciting to, when we were down in Nanaimo at AVICC and just watching all of the recreation they had in one area. I know we can't have like a big giant outdoor floor hockey arena like they do, but, I don't know, I just wanted to see if we have any future thoughts. Yeah.
So we did actually mention this, I think it was I'm gonna say a year ago, we did talk about moving some of the older nets, hockey nets out into the basketball court there.
Yeah.
And then allowing people to play floor hockey. There was some discussion about vandalism and that, how do we mount them to the basketball, and do we want to put them as a permanent structure? So because of that, we did tend away from doing that. I'm glad to hear a positive side to the.
Sorry, I don't understand the accent.
Okay.
You made it back safe.
I did.
First
Yeah.
thing he did when he got back to, what a committed guy.
I know, what can we say? It's 2:00 in the morning right now. Huh? And that's how it goes.
Go ahead, Talia.
I did hear some feedback from pickleballers and the tennis players. Because from their perspective, now that the weather is getting nicer, they see that as their pickleball court and their tennis court. So they have asked us now to put a note up on the tennis court saying for tennis and pickleball only,
Oh, wow.
to exclude the floor hockey. So it would be an issue if we did mount, permanent floor hockey nets, either on, one of the two platforms. So it's a competing space for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have a question. What about, well, I'm just musing, so just forgive me because it'll probably sound completely silly. Is we have two ends of a tennis court that are fenced, right? And what if we attached the hockey nets on the outside and created openings from the inside so that you could still have both? The balls would still be caught if they went flying, because they would just be caught into these nets that would then be mounted to the outside, but then they would become a permanent structure as part of the fencing. And then they could be used as a ball hockey, or it could be used as tennis, or it could be used as pickleball. It could be a whole multi-use without having to worry about where to store these things, because the nets would actually be mounted to the fence and opened. Now, having said that, fences are expensive. And so we would have to cut into the fence. So what I'm wondering is if it's even feasible to have a discussion with groups to see if that's even something that they would consider. Because you wouldn't be able to get around the net in order to do that, but at least you'd still be able, because it's not a regulation size ball hockey
Yeah.
arena anyway.
Yeah.
But it would give them an opportunity to be able to take slap shots and do whatever they wanted to do.
It's just like the basketball with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something
It's not
to practice on.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
What about the other option is when if we have dedicated time where people are outdoor playing for hockey, we can use the parking lot perhaps as a space. Of course, there's obviously issues about parking
And then
and.
events, right, so. Make sure you get it in the
Right,
not in the woods.
And don't hit counselors' cars.
You're talking ball hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trouble that, of course, is where does the ball go?
Yeah.
You know, if you slap it. You need sort of a fence to
Capture it.
try to catch it.
And it also competes with our indoor. I mean, right now we have the dry forest season. It's a short season. We're really trying to promote the ball hockey indoors. But, weather dictates. If it's nice enough, people like to go outside.
They like to go outside.
But again, the tennis court issue would be, I would not hear, my whole day would be spent fielding pickleball and tennis complaints if we did that, Trina.
No, I know, I just.
What's that? Make another tennis court?
I just.
Or competing against the ball hockey players for the tennis court.
Oh.
Pretty impressive.
Pickleballers and tennis players.
You
It's that.
know, lacrosse and their ball hockey, like they actually have full size outdoor
Mhm.
undercover arenas and outdoor, but. Just even like a little court for them, I don't know, just something
We-
that would be future thought.
We'd like a
When we
little court
played, when
beside
we
the tennis
played
court.
the lacrosse here, where Eagle View was, that's where we played it.
underneath of that.
I remember
oh,
that.
Undercover.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't, at that time, that cover wasn't there,
Yeah, but it was,
but it was fenced in.
yeah,
I remember that.
it was a small area.
And there's the
One-
other part of Robert Scott too.
Mhm.
Well, this is the thing I want to mention to Trina is, those courts were shared with the school in Nanaimo.
But they were shared.
The ones we
with the school.
looked.
That's right.
It was a
Thank
joint partnership,
for
the
bringing
school
that
and the
up.
municipality. Hint.
you.
And Robert Scott actually has a few paved areas that would be great for ball hockey.
And it's lovely gym.
And I love this gym.
All sorts of
Beautiful
markings and holes for
See,
all
we should
different
try and
sports.
do something about
We
it.
should.
Okay, excuse me.
It's on the to-do list.
Excuse me, council, but that's the reason why we need those open discussions, but we do have a couple more things that I know that Cam would like to talk to us about on our schedule, so I think this alternating once a month gives us an opportunity to talk more in depth about these different things, but let's move on to the monthly report that Cam had brought, and I think that's all for information, but I would like to get into the one specifically that talks about Storage Beach vehicle speeds, and then he's gonna talk a little bit to us about the water trends analysis. Let's talk about Storage Beach. Any questions, Cam? Would you just like to
Yep. Well,
highlight some of that?
is that, carrying on from previous discussions about the speeds in Story Beach, this is the follow-up that we've, promised to do 6-8 months later.
Mhm.
And we took the speed reader that's at Stories Beach and we recorded the speeds on, if you look at the table, the first reading was with the speed reader that's visible to the drivers going north on Beaver Harbor Road, or Beaver Harbor Road. And then what we did after April 25th is that we turned off the display and still recorded the speeds of drivers to see if people's behaviors would change. And what we found was that the average speed pretty much stayed the same. And the variance, which measures the spread of the speeds, of the different speeds, they're pretty similar too. So we found that with the speed reader or not having the speed reader, basically people went the same speed. We did find some anomalies in that one person was driving like 93 kilometers an hour. With that being said, we can't guarantee if that was an actual person driving 93 kilometers an hour. Talking to the manufacturer of the speed reader, it's possible that a gust of wind, a leaf, or a bird could have flew during that time and recorded that
Or a
speed.
motorbike.
Mhm.
But with that being said, if someone was driving 93 kilometers an hour, everyone can hear it. So if we would poll everyone at Stories Beach, did anybody see someone drive 93 kilometers?
I think there'd be some citizens justice if there was. It's
I
like,
would have thought somebody would have phoned in a complaint.
yeah.
There's a date and time,
Is there? Oh, I didn't miss that.
5 o'clock on Thursday.
5 o'clock.
On Thursday.
If people were driving 93 kilometers, it would happen more often rather than just once out of like 4,000
Mhm.
Yeah.
views.
Mhm.
And everyone would have heard it. Like driving down that road, the natural design speed is about 40 kilometers an hour.
Mhm.
So if the speed reader was 20 meters further into the subdivision,
Mhm.
we would probably notice speed slowing down because people drive on that green area, they can speed up to 60. But once they pass the speed sign into where the road kind of narrows, people will naturally slow down.
Mhm.
So even if someone was going 93, they probably slow down immediately once they hit the residential area.
Mhm.
So this is for discussion about what we can do going forward. The 3 recommendations are, if we thought speed was a problem in that subdivision, if we put that barrier up or some sort of barrier or park the car right at the entrance of Stories Beach, people would be guaranteed to slow down 30 kilometers an hour. I think we would never have that piece of leaf or that wind recording at 90 kilometers an hour. Or we can just accept that the speeds are what they are. There's 4,000 cars over 2 weeks is not a lot of cars. That's 200 a day. That's like one every 10 minutes. There's not a lot of cars. Or we can just tell the RCMP that someone's speeding at that 6 o'clock and everyone to look out for that one person.
Mhm.
just for your information, that size of road is 70 miles per hour in England.
Mile,
Jesus.
Miles per hour, 70.
Crazy.
You can see how scared I was on the roads.
You getting honked at too for going slow.
Yeah, I did, constantly. I was getting honked right left this. What city councils do over there in the center and the streets is they have speed bumps every 100 yards.
Sleeping policeman, you mean?
Mhm.
Isn't that?
Every 100 yards, and,
Don't you?
and the complaint is, you know, the council doesn't fix the road, but puts in speed bumps instead.
And Mexico does the exact same thing, so they have varying types of speed bumps, so they have the, basically like little cone heads sticking out all over the highway, and the highway speeds are like 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers an hour, and then all of a sudden it's like slow to like 30. And they go over the top, and then in the residential areas, there are actually two ditches that are formed, and then they have these other ones that are big humps.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to watch some of the vehicles. They can make it through the little hump ones, but they can't get over these ones because they bottom out every time. So just, that's how they, it's really interesting how they control.
These are not all the way across the road, well, they're like, they're bigger, they're about 4 or 5 feet in square, and they have them. And they're about 6 foot long.
Coquitlam, they've covered their streets with street trees, parking islands, traffic calming. It's all over the place.
Mm.
And it slows cars down because the roads are so narrow.
Yeah.
It also makes driving terrible to be there.
Mhm.
So those are options. They don't recommend it.
Go ahead, Fred.
yeah, the only one that I would not recommend would be one. The, narrowing. No, please don't do that again. Not because it didn't work, it's just
Well,
heard about it a lot.
yeah.
Mhm.
When you, just before a residential area and you have that narrowing to slow the people down, but that doesn't slow them down once they get past it. Cause they have the option to speed up again, so it only actually narrows it down where nobody lives. So you didn't really protect the residents that live on the street. You basically just slowed them down for that little piece of the thing, but it does. And, I remember that they talked about that up in L Drive, the cars that are parked along the side of the road there, cause it seems so narrow. It's an automatic slow down, right? People just don't drive fast because it's a narrow road.
You don't want narrow roads.
Yeah, but
You
it is,
got
but it
clear.
definitely makes a difference, right? The wider they are, the faster people seem to wanna drive. That's the way it is, so. So that's great. Okay, so there are options there. Is there any? Yes, go ahead, Brian.
Like reading it all, it seems like the vast majority is within reason what they should be, like the percentiles there, like 98.1 with it not even visible are, in compliance, and most people driving 35 kilometers an hour. State shows that obviously the natural narrowing of the road slows people down. I don't see any reason obviously to put a barrier back up there. I know a lot of people are upset with that barrier for sure, going back to what Fred said. And then, having that monitor there, maybe just keeping that monitor there might be the best bet. Because certainly, making the RCMP go there and watch is kind of a, waste of time in my opinion. But so keeping that monitor there, people see their speed, they might slow down. That's the only suggestion I got.
Mhm. Yes, Rick?
Yeah, and the other thing is just, if you need to rotate the monitor around the town, if you moved it from there every once in a while to, Party Bay Road, or I know there was one there or something. I don't think that's.
We have a
anywhere.
couple.
We did notice that it measures the V1 speed and the V2 speed. The V1 speed is when you first see the sign, and then the V2 speed is you should slow down because you saw the display. So the V2 speed should be lower than the V1 because you see the display, you slow
Right.
down.
Yeah.
We did notice that when the display was up, some cars sped up when they saw this. Because they're trying to see their score
Yeah, for sure.
on the reader.
So maybe not a good idea to have there then. Good to know.
But interestingly, Councillor Smith brought it up was, you know, that driving by the sign, they don't say the speeds on them anymore. It's just to kind of get people not used to the fact that they're seeing the speeds. So now you'll notice when you come into town, it doesn't tell you how fast you're going. It just tells you happy face or sad face.
It's angry face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's just so that we can kind of see, is it, just to get people paying attention to the fact that they're still there. Sure, I have allergies, so I'm not like dying because I'm sick. I just have allergies.
That's a sad face.
Sad face.
So what is council thinking for recommending to carry on doing what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
Everybody's good with that?
Option 2, but not show the actual speed, like visible, just the smiley face, sad face.
We have a hybrid speed now in that it shows the speed below 50, so people want to see their score.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
And then sad face when they're
I like
over
that.
50.
But then not showing them further.
That's a great.
Yeah,
idea.
not rewarding them for their efforts to go above.
There is one number that everybody likes to get.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Missing.
We've had some comments that some of the kids on bicycles want to see their
You're
score,
welcome.
so we can pick that up.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody like, make your recommendation to staff then,
I'll move by option 2.
up to 2, as per was discussed, okay, and Trina second. Any other comments? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, perfect, thank you. Now we'll get on to, we've got a couple minutes left to talk about the report about water trend analysis. Cam, do you want to just talk on the highlights?
Yeah, if you look at the graph, basically the question was, what, for the water produced, are we trending upwards or are we trending downwards? So what we've done is we took information from the last 4 years and the amount of megaliters produced at the water treatment plant, we plotted it on a scatter graph. And the scatter graph, we drew a line of best fit, which represents the average amount of water that's produced per month. And it's the slope of the line that we're concerned about. If it's a flat line, that means the two variables have no relationship. If it slopes downwards, it means over time, we're producing less water, and if it slopes upward, it means we're producing more water. The memo goes on to explanation of how we created it. It doesn't matter how we created it.
Mhm.
I used measured the residuals, the square residuals, and they summed it up. I just used Excel, typed in 8 numbers, and then plot out that graph. But what this graph says is that the slope is going downwards, which means over time, on average, we're producing less and less water. For each time period, basically, we're on average using producing 30,000 less liters a month. So the difference between causation and correlation are different. There's things that we assume that because the distribution system is getting older, that we would expect more and more leaks. And there's things that our staff does to prevent the leaks, such as with a preventive maintenance program, faster responding to leaks, and the water meter programs. So because our staff has been on, has purchased leak detection equipment and have been on leak tracing, we've noticed that water usage has been down. With that being said, there are things that could affect the forecast that increase, that has nothing to do with the staff. If the population increases, we're going to use more water. If industry leaves and they're the biggest users of the water, they're going to use less water too, or more water.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of everything of what we're doing. Basically, if you month per month, we're producing on average less water per month.
Mhm. Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Jen.
It's a cool graph, Cam. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great that we are doing leak detection because certainly don't want to be, that's definitely wasting water. have you looked at just the major users? Like, I wonder how much of the water usage has been impacted by the closure of the aquaculture sites in the Broughton Archipelago, for instance, where that fish was being processed here, and so now they're, producing much less. So I assume they're using a lot less water. Do you know?
Yeah, we track all the water meters, all the
Right.
major players in the industry. And there's definitely some notice that their rate on their water meters flipping like really, really quickly, so they're using a lot of water. So if we continue with the program, you could definitely be a trend of water being decreased or needed to produce. We could produce a list of how much each of those are using, and we do talk to them, to talk about how much water they're using, can you fix your leaks and whatnot.
Right, so you believe they have leaks?
There's leaks and they're just using a lot of water. And yes, through the water meters, they aren't concerned too much about how much water they're using.
I just wonder for them, like, there must be a correlation between what they're producing and what they're using. I
Yeah,
would hope, because it costs them
Yeah.
money, that they would look at that. But
there is.
anyway, it's just interesting stuff. Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't need any more reports on it. To be fair.
Any more questions?
It's good thing.
Patricia, do you have any questions?
No, I found it very interesting, and I was surprised that there was a positive correlation between that and looking at the linear regression. So thank you very much for doing it so scientifically.
It's a negative relationship.
Yeah.
Or it's a negative relationship. Yeah.
I understood what you meant.
We know. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. Well, we have a couple minutes before we get into our council meeting, so I'm sure everybody would like a little break. Go ahead. Yes, we do. Thank you. We can have a little break and we'll be back here in a few minutes.